Beep, 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 beep.
Good evening, Ashley. It's good to see you
It's
again.
good seeing you, Jay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This was your first week as a girl at work, or a woman, depending.
Yeah, sure. Officially, anyway.
Officially.
To me, I've always been a girl, but it's maybe the first time I'm presenting as such.
Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah.
splitting hairs, maybe.
Bring us up to date, if you wouldn't mind. Tell us what happened at the, I guess last Friday and then this past Monday.
Sure. Right. So on, not too much happened on Friday. I set up I created a spreadsheet for my manager as far as to try to help him out, just because there are a lot of user accounts that I have at the company.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I made a list of all the ones I could think of, including here's what my current username is. Here's the name of the system. And I also put a column on who has to change it. Because some of them, like our bug tracking system, I have permissions to change my own display name. And so I could just take care of that myself. Other ones, like the email system, he would have to take care of.
Right.
So I sent that along to him on, I think it was Friday afternoon, knowing that the plan was for those changes to be made over the weekend, perhaps Sunday night or whatever.
You have people that regularly work on the weekend, or is that just something that they would schedule in advance?
They don't normally work on the weekend, but when someone is transitioning, you want everything to be set up from the first day, so that as soon as someone comes in, that person can present as his or her chosen name and so on, that everything's in place. Well, I sent him the spreadsheet on Thursday, I think it was. Yeah. And then Friday, I sent him an email saying, were there any questions that you had for me about the spreadsheet? I mean, for instance, maybe there were some that I had left off or whatever. It was kind of my attempt at being nice to offer a reminder without explicitly saying, hey, here's a reminder to change my user accounts.
Sure.
Do you want to guess the end of the story, or should I tell you the end of the user account changing story?
I'm going to guess that it slipped his mind before Monday morning.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So indeed, Monday morning,
That's too bad.
he is changing user accounts. And fortunately, I was able to change many myself, which I just handled earlier. So today is now Wednesday. And there's still a couple he hasn't quite taken care of yet.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
I know.
Ugh.
Like my email address. But
Have you sent a reminder?
yeah, I've kind of stopped by his desk like, oh, so how things go with user accounts? He's like, oh, I've been really busy. And it's like, dude.
As I recall, you made a deliberate effort to find a time during your workload that he would have the extra time to work on this sort of thing instead of feeling like he was really busy. But then again, things have been delayed at least a week.
Well, right. I mean, and then I was trying to make it as easy as possible for him so he wouldn't have to do the heavy lifting, as it were. I mean, they would still have to make the changes, but he wouldn't have to rack his brain about, okay, what user accounts does Ashley have?
Right.
Because it would hopefully be all spelled out, unless maybe I forgot one or two. But
What a turkey.
Indeed, I would say so. Definitely Turkeyville. I mean, fortunately, in the particular company where we work, it's not a high email company. We do a lot of our communications through other mediums. We have a campfire room, for example, which is sort of like IRC for old school people.
Uh-huh.
And so...
Even the AOL folks know about chat rooms.
Sure. But at any rate, it so happens that I've not needed to send any emails so far this week.
Lucky.
But
yeah.
I've done other communications through other channels, so it happens to be the ones that I've mostly had control over.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Aside from the bureaucracy, then,
Right.
how have things been going in your own head? Have you felt happier because you get to dress the way that you want?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not.
I didn't mean to make a leading question, but
I don't know if want is the way the way I feel, I suppose. So
Uh-huh.
it's not like
Well,
just
I mean, I dress as a man, and it is simultaneously the way that I want to dress.
yeah, but it's not like
Nobody's forcing me to dress in a different way, and that would have been
right.
very upsetting, as I imagine it has been for you.
But if supposing I was a big fan of the Philadelphia Eagles and everyone at the office loved the Cowboys, and I really wanted to wear the Philadelphia Eagles jerseys, or Steelers, or Tigers, or do they play football? I don't know. Anyway, so but that would be something I would want to do, but that would not be at the same level
Okay.
in my mind. But anyway, maybe
Sure.
that's so. On that first day, I got up extra early with what my plan was going to be is to get there sort of a little earlier than some of my coworkers because they kind of not everyone gets in at the same time. It's kind of spread out. And so I wanted to get there a little bit earlier so that maybe I could be seated at my desk and then as people came in, they could say hi and whatever. Because what I didn't want is for everyone to already be there and then I come walking in and then everyone turns their heads and looks at me.
And somebody starts playing. Doom, 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 doom. Are you wearing you're wearing stockings? Did you go all out? Did you try to make some cleavage happen?
Okay, so that's several questions. I did not wear stockings. I wore jeans
Okay.
and I wore a dark red t-shirt from Threadless.
So not terribly different from how it might have been the week before.
Um,
Here's where you correct me and tell me what all the differences were.
yeah, so the differences among them were that the t-shirt was a women's cut t-shirt.
Okay.
As well, I was also wearing a proper bra rather than a sports bra. So I was comfortable rather than having a boa around my chest.
Right.
Plus, as well, there was makeup and my purse and my new laptop bag. So,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay.
To answer your other question, as far as the cleavage thing, unfortunately, I don't have enough of the goods to make cleavage yet. But maybe that's coming or maybe not.
Well, how did it feel walking in?
Well, so
How did it feel driving in? How did it feel getting up extra early to do your makeup for work?
so it felt fine getting up extra early because I guess that I mean I'm not as much a morning person as you, Jay, but usually if I can put my mind to it to get to bed early, then I can get up early without too much trouble. And so being that it was a Sunday, I didn't have any sleep debt built up or anything, so it was not a big problem to wake up. To make a long story short, I woke up earlier, but I left about the same time I always did because I miscalculated how long it would take to do my makeup.
Oh.
Because I thought, well, maybe 30 or 40 minutes.
Seems reasonable.
You would think, yeah. It turns out it took me 62 minutes.
Oof.
Yeah. And part of that was just me being meticulous because I wanted to look really as good as it
sort
could
of like the
on
first
the
day of
first
school.
day. Exactly. Yeah. And so I drove into work and parked in the parking garage, and it was a little bit nerve-wracking walking up to the elevators, and I will admit that I had not been nervous to press an elevator button before that day. But I made it up to the 15th floor and walked into the office, and everyone was very welcoming and friendly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And they said, "Hi, Ashley." And after I got my stuff put down, the lead QA woman even gave me a big hug, and that was honestly probably...
Was this the woman from the nail
Yeah.
salon coming out story?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so honestly, that hug was probably the highlight of my day because that was
Yeah.
really special for me.
Good.
And yeah, so much of the day was fairly ordinary, and as ordinary as it could be. I mean, people
Okay.
didn't treat me differently.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the part, and you're already familiar with this, where the big cheese goes around and bothers people.
Right. We talked about that a couple times.
Right. So what's kind of weird as sort of a preface to this is that the big cheese, he was put into the loop not right when I came out to my boss, but fairly soon after that. So I'd come out to my boss, say 6 weeks ago or something like that. And it was maybe a week or two after that that the big cheese was put into the loop. So he's known for many weeks now. But usually once people know, even if they don't call me Ashley, they would at least allude to it or things. But no, he made no mention of anything about this in the coming weeks. I mean, he could have, for instance, pulled me aside and says, "Hey, I support what you're doing," or "Hey, tomorrow's a big day. I hope it goes well for you." Or, he could have done any of those things to acknowledge that he's okay with how things are going and he supports me. But
at the very least, that something significant was happening in his company.
Yeah, exactly.
Because his HR rules have changed as a result of this.
Sure, yeah. But he made no mention of no allusions, references to it. And so on the day of, on Monday then, he's doing his bothering routine, and he came to my desk and he says to me, "So I suppose I should call you Ashley now." And I said, "Yes, that would be my preference," because I don't know what to say.
Was he smiling when he said that?
Maybe very slightly. It was not an overt smile. He was not saying sarcastically. It was as if he was, like if you just told someone directions, like, okay, go through Holland Tunnel and then take a left, and then they repeat it back. You're like, oh, so I should go through Holland Tunnel and take a left. It was that kind of tone. I don't know if these hypothetical directions make any sense because I don't.
That didn't help.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that he was probably just nervous.
Maybe, or just unsure of. But it would have been nice if he could have phrased it differently, or like,
or maybe just, "Hi, Ashley."
Yeah, or "Welcome aboard, Ashley," or whatever. But yeah, so that was that. And the other highlight of the day was at around maybe 3:30 in the afternoon. There was a stand-up meeting called. It's not an everyday thing, but it's something that happens every few days. So okay, we gather around, and once everyone was gathered, then someone went and brought in a box of cupcakes from a local bakery to welcome the new girl to the team.
That's adorable.
Yeah, I was really touched. It was a really nice gesture.
And also, cupcakes.
Yeah, there was red velvet and vanilla, and it was really nice that my coworkers could acknowledge the significance of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And
so when everybody gathered around, was anybody missing?
Dum.
Maybe.
No one was missing. No.
Okay, so even the big boss who bothers people,
the big cheese? No, he had left. No, because he doesn't work he doesn't work in our same team area. So.
Okay.
He just does drive-by pesterings.
It was Team Cupcakes.
Yeah, Team Cupcakes.
That's who I'm rooting for in the Twilight Saga.
They said, "So we just want to welcome you, Ashley, to the team," and everyone clapped briefly, and it was really nice. It was really touching. Yeah.
They didn't sing for "He's a Jolly Good Fellow."
Well, first of all, it would not be fellow.
I know. Actually, a funny thing about that song, there's no girl version.
Somehow I'm okay with that because that song's kind of annoying.
And so tell me about the bathroom thing.
Yeah.
Because it was still sort of up in the air.
Right. So I got into the office probably around 10 o'clock or so, 10:15, which in our office is neither early nor late. They're very flexible in hours. So some people get in earlier, some people get in a little later. At any rate, so I got in, and maybe it was because I was nervous as I was getting ready, but I must have had a lot of water to drink. So I was like, oh, I gotta use the loo. And so it's like 10:30, and so there's this workout room that's 7 floors down or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, all right, well, Don will get on the elevator and give that a shot. I was like, nah, fuck it. I'll just use the ladies' room. And so I did, and it was fine. Yeah, so I've been using the ladies' room since basically the moment I got there on Monday,
Right.
and it's been fine.
And have you encountered other people in it?
For whatever reason, it is often completely empty. There's one time where there's someone at the sink who I passed, walk into one of the stalls. There was maybe 1 or 2 times where there's someone in an adjacent stall, but it's just totally humdrum. So that part's been nice.
And so Tuesday and Wednesday were much the same, except no cupcakes?
Yeah. And I mean, it's the bathroom thing though. I may have underestimated the mental load that was putting on me as far as keeping track of which one to go into.
Okay.
Because I don't know if I ever told you about this, or I may have tweeted about it, but it was maybe the week prior where I was going to the bathrooms, and this was before my transition date. So I was in drag at the time. And without even thinking, I made it about a step into the ladies' room before realizing, oh, wait, I'm at work. I have to go to the other one. Because, of course, over weekends and whatever else, that's what I would have done. So it's nice not having to keep track of, okay, what day of the week it is. Okay, I can this one or whatever. It's one of those things where it's that load off your mind that you don't realize how much of a nuisance it was until it's not there anymore.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that, and also just not having to keep track of what name to tell people when I'm introducing myself.
You mentioned earlier that wearing a bra is more comfortable than a sports bra.
Oh, goodness, yes.
But oddly, one of the first things that I learned about women by watching a movie, I think it was called Night Shift, was that taking a bra off at the end of the day was actually quite relieving. And,
is that the one with Marky
felt a lot
Post?
better than... I don't think so.
No, that was Night Court.
It was the one with the unknown comic in it.
Okay. Okay. Oh, right. So
and Linda Blair.
Right.
Playing Sue Perman.
Sue Perman?
You don't like it when I say crap tonight, Sue Perman?
I must have not seen this movie then, because
it's really weird.
I have no recollection of these lines. So anyway, to answer your question, as far as the relative comfortableness of wearing a bra, so you can think of it like how maybe after a long day of walking around or hiking, you may want to take off your shoes and socks so as to relieve pressure on your feet or something. All that is to say that, at least for me, wearing a bra is perfectly comfortable most of the time. But if I was, say, I don't know, if I was running around a lot and it got sweaty and gross and I would want to take it off, or maybe if I was just having one of those days or something, I don't know. For me, I'm probably not the best woman to ask about this, just since for me, wearing a bra is a feature in and of itself.
Okay.
So for me, it makes me feel more like who I'm meant to be, and so that may be offsetting whatever discomfort may or may not come along with it.
Okay. Very possibly someday in the future, as we continue this, you might get to a point where you're like, these underwires. That's a word, right? Underwire?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
They still make Cross Your Heart?
I don't know. Is that Playtex?
Yeah.
Yeah, most of my bras are from Victoria's Secret, and they've actually been really comfortable. I think the Incredibles line, super comfy.
What was that thing that your coworker asked you that you told me about?
So the thing that my coworker asked me, I think, was how it's been different to use a purse rather than to be using a wallet.
Oh, okay.
Right, yeah. So I kind of had to think about it for a bit. But I think the biggest advantage is also maybe the biggest disadvantage of purses, which is to say that it's always packed. So, wait, you seem confused.
It doesn't always have to be packed.
Well, no, but for instance, your staples as far as your wallet, maybe your keys, your iPod, those are the kind of things you can just leave in there. And unlike, say, a pair of jeans where you're going to bed and you have to take those things out of your pockets and so on.
Uh-huh.
So it can be nice having all those things already in there because when you need to head out, you just grab your purse, and if there's maybe your phone or something that wasn't in there. But for the most part, it's all just in one package, and it's kind of handy.
I have recently picked up a messenger bag because I'm just tired of having things in my pants pockets. I'm too old for that now.
You say that, but 10 years ago, Jay also did not like having things in his pockets.
No, but I could tolerate it, and now I'm just like, blah, nonsense. I went to REI and I picked up a messenger bag, sort of on a whim, and I'm just taking it everywhere now.
No, and
But yeah, I'm still paranoid every time I put it on and I walk out the door. I'm like, I bet I don't have my wallet and my key in here, and so I have to check.
yeah, so that's the thing, that by having it always packed, the disadvantage is that, well, when you have, say, jeans pockets or what have you, and you're packing your pockets individually, you're able to check, okay, I'm putting my keys in my pocket, I'm putting my wallet in my pocket. And as well, if you have your pockets packed, but you're about to walk out the door, you can pat your pocket like, okay, I got the keys in there, I got my phone in this pocket.
Takes half a second.
Yeah.
Right.
But with everything being pre-packed in your purse, then it's more of a manual process to confirm that you have the items that are in there.
I suppose it will just take some time and confidence in our self-discipline to make sure that, I don't know.
To trust the system.
Yeah.
And well, the other perhaps disadvantage or perhaps thing that's different about purses I've noticed is that, of course, it's not as quickly accessible for your items. So, for example, if I were to have carried a pen in my pocket and maybe I need to assign a receipt or something, it's very easy to grab that pen and, I've got a pen, and I can sign it. But if it's in my purse, then I would need to open it up and grab into whatever pocket and find the pen and so on.
On the other hand, if you're driving and you've got your purse in the passenger seat and you're going through a drive-through at the new Dallas In-N-Out, for example, and get the fries well done, I think it would be easier to reach over and grab your wallet out of your purse than it would be to try to do this contortionist thing where you have to reach into your jeans and get your wallet out and it hurts your knuckles, which used to happen to me all the time.
Wow.
It was more often with my phone than it was with my wallet.
Yeah, there could be something to that. Yeah.
Also, if you're going to be wearing skirts, then you just have to have some kind of external bag.
Yes.
Do you have any skirts?
I have a couple, though I'm not certain how fashionable they are. Only in the sense that most of my skirts I bought about a year ago, and even then, some of them were on clearance. So it could be that they're not just a year's old fashion, but like a year and a half or something. So that's
Tell me about some of your early shopping experiences after you had come out to your close friends. I seem to recall some people being really enthusiastic about taking you shopping.
Yeah.
Can you tell me some stories about that?
Sure. So our mutual friend Connie was very supportive, as were all of our friends. But her in particular, she said, well, hey, I can help you go shopping and pick some things out. So we kind of made a day of it. Maybe it was a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday afternoon, but I can't remember the exact order, but we stopped by the Target, and in addition to kind of looking through the various clothes to see what might work for me, she kind of offered a little bit of a brief tour as far as we would pass different sections of things. She would kind of say, okay, here's what this can work with and so on. So that was helpful, and we picked up a few things there.
Previous to coming out to yourself when you would walk through Target, would you even glance at that whole huge section which is marked as for women or for girls?
Oh, sure, I would glance at it, yeah. But
And did you make any informed decisions about if that's the sort of thing you would wear if you were a woman? Or did you just say, "Oh, pretty," and then just keep walking?
well, so this is before I came out to me, you're talking about?
Right.
This probably applies for both clothes and makeup, but I was very curious about how they would work and how they would fit together.
Okay.
So, for example, with clothes, I mean, you could have a dress is almost easy just because it's one thing, and then you have shoes and Bob's your uncle, or maybe some accessories. But when it comes to say a skirt, you can pair that with various different kinds of tops. And so I was always trying to figure out, okay, what goes with this? And the other thing I found very interesting was that, especially for formal attire, men are kind of pigeonholed with that. They kind of get the short end of the stick because it's like, okay, well, you wear a suit. All right, that's all the options you have.
Yeah.
And
I have often felt frustrated
right.
about that, but at the same time, I really enjoy wearing a suit. So
Yeah, you wear a good suit.
thanks.
Yeah, you betcha. And I suppose, of course, there's tuxedos and for very, very formal, but for the most part, yeah, it's a suit. And so for women's attire, the two things that were interesting was one of which is that there's so many more options, and so you have many more things to choose from, but as well, it was more loosely defined. And so it meant that it was harder to tell which clothes fell into the category of formal versus, say, slightly less formal. Certainly you could tell there's between casual and formal, but there was a kind of a gradient there rather than just strictly little notches on the scale, as it were.
And first you have to decide what sort of environment you're going to be in and what sort of attitude you want to portray. Like, do you want to be high-powered career woman? Do you want to be punk rock girl?
Or both.
Right.
I mean,
but not in the same meeting.
Not in the same meeting. Yeah, I'll concede that.
So you went shopping with Connie.
Yeah, went shopping with Connie, and Connie's very good at finding deals. She has a knack for finding deals. So in addition to just looking over some of the regular items, we also looked over the clearance items. And part of what it was, at least as the way I thought of it, I don't know if Connie had consciously thought of it this way, but just that because it was one of my first big shopping trips, we probably didn't want to buy lots of expensive things just because I didn't know what my style was. Connie didn't know what my style was. So it could be that some of the things we bought that seemed okay, maybe I wouldn't really grow into them or whatever. So it didn't make a lot of sense to buy super expensive stuff. But yeah, so we picked up several items, and so that was pretty nice. And then we also stopped by Walgreens to pick up just different lipsticks and eyeshadows and such. And we also went to the mall and stopped by the Macy's and went to the Lancome counter to get some foundation and powder.
Okay.
Yeah.
I made a promise in an early episode to ask you how many bottles of nail polish you bought.
Yes.
Do you have that number handy by any chance?
No.
That's okay. I'm gonna guesstimate. In how many scores would you say?
A score is what, 20?
Yeah.
It might be a 3 score.
Nice.
That's certain.
Okay. Where do you keep them?
I keep them in a sort of Rubbermaid container that's maybe 14 inches by 8 inches, one of those jobbies, that you have like cookies in. Well, it started out being in there, and then it kind of overflowed that, and now they're just kind of piled up in my under sink cabinet area.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of embarrassing almost just since I...
Well, do you have a plan for weeding out the ones that you know you won't want anymore?
Yeah.
What's that?
Nail polish party.
What's that?
Well, it's not an official established thing, but I was thinking, well, how about this? I could collect my nail polishes as far as the ones that were not my favorites, and I can invite over some girlfriends or boyfriends, and they could bring their polishes, and we could have a little switcheroo, like a clothing swap, but for polishes. So, okay, I don't particularly like, say, these 10, and then, okay, we can trade you for this one, and so everyone gets, well, new polishes that are slightly used, but basically probably mostly full bottles because whoever originally bought them didn't terribly like them.
Good point.
Yeah. And then we could even paint each other's nails. We could eat brownies. And
Is one is one bottle necessarily worth one bottle when you're trading, or might one color be worth two bottles of a different kind? Like when kids used to trade stickers.
or like fruit roll-ups versus, an apple in your...
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I hadn't honestly thought that far ahead. And I suppose the other sort of theoretical nuance is that some polishes, like for instance OPI, those might be $8 versus Wet n Wild might be $2 or $3. But really, I'm guessing we're all just amongst friends and probably just do it a one-to-one thing, because otherwise it's too complicated.
Have you gone shopping with additional people since the first time, and how did the experiences differ?
Yeah, I went shopping about a month ago with a couple friends of mine. One is a cisgender guy, and one is a gay man. And both of them were people that I had, I think it was coworkers that I've worked with in the past or whatever, but they're friends as well. And so when I was sending out one of those kind of newsletter style emails, this was back, I guess, in June, I'd included both of those guys. And so they were both very supportive. And in fact, and Benji is the one fellow, and he actually offered, hey, since I have shopping gaydar or something, as he put it, I'd be happy to go shopping with you. And of course, I mentioned that I'm also gay and that I'm a lesbian, but nonetheless, I'll be very happy to go shopping with him because that sounds like super fun. So we checked out various stores and picked up a few things, and it was kind of different just in the sense that I had sort of a better idea of some of my style around things. And we also stopped by one of the local malls and went to the Nordstrom because we had heard that they might have a good shoe selection. Which, on the face of it, you might think, oh, it's a department store. Of course they have shoes. But the issue I have, of course, is that I have stupid size 13 feet. And so, in many cases, you may have an entire shoe store that has no shoes at all that I can wear. But Nordstrom, actually, we went there and we asked the fellow, do you happen to have any shoes in size 13? And he says, sure, I have quite a few. And we said, okay, well, how about you just start bringing them out? And he said, well, what kinds are you looking for? It's like, oh, wedges, sandals, heels, whatever strikes your fancy. So it's kind of a free-for-all. So he comes out with like this stack of maybe 5 or 6 boxes, and then I try them on and confer with my friends and kind of set them into piles of these are good, these are not good. And then after that, then I send back the rejects, and he goes to the back and brings out some more. And it was kind of awesome, actually.
So it was a shoe sommelier.
You could say that. Yeah. So I was totally pleased. In fact,
you had a tasting menu. That's cool.
I'm sure it was profitable for him as well, because it must have been 3 or 4 pairs of shoes that I bought, and I'm guessing he gets paid on commission. But nonetheless, what I also did was at the register area, they had this little business card doohickey, which had his card, and there was another sort of container thing with the store manager's card. So I took one of each of those, and I emailed the store manager saying I was very happy with Tuan service. He was very helpful and was one of the better shoe buying experiences that I'd had.
That's great.
Yeah, because he really went above and beyond, and I thought he deserved some recognition for that.
Which reminds me of another question that I promised I would ask you that I haven't gotten around to yet. How are you budgeting differently?
In terms of what types of...
Well, for example, we have a monthly budget that we abide by, and no part of it is set aside for clothing for me. I really just buy clothes when it's an emergency. But 60 bottles of nail polish has got to be at least $180.
Maybe. Well,
and that's, if you have it to spend on it, that's fine with me. But a person who is particularly organized would set aside an amount, if not monthly, then annually, for new clothes, shoes, ties, that sort of thing. And it seems to me that you're particularly organized, so maybe you had done that before. And if you had, how has it changed?
For the nail polish, you could say it might be a little rewards category or something. Like, I'm trying to think of other things that might fall into that. Okay, like maybe there's a new book from the Daily Show that's come out, and you want to go to the Barnes & Noble and you buy that. Maybe
for some people, comic books would be in the same category.
Yeah, so, I mean, the nail polish, I mean, in fairness to me, this is over the course of, it's since the last 2 years or so. Usually, well, it's like the comic book thing, which is to say, you can't just buy one. If you're at the store, it's like, ooh, I like this one. Oh, and I like this one, and I like. So you maybe buy 2 or 3 at a time, but not every day or whatever. So that was a nail polish, and then as far as other bits, many of the clothing items, what I try to do is just buy them as I need them. So, for example, this past weekend I went shopping for a coat because it's October and it's not really cold yet, but there could be some chilly days coming up and I should have a coat. So there was that, or I was going out to sort of a fanciest restaurant a few months back and I needed to buy a button-down shirt. And so I went and did that. But I'm not buying all these things in anticipation of, oh, what if I need this or what if I need this? Because I'm sure if I had a money tree outside, that could be fun to do, but that way you end up spending a lot of things on maybe certain occasions that you wouldn't necessarily need anytime soon. So there have been relatively few what I would call shopping trips where I've just gone out for the sake of shopping, as opposed to I need a coat, I'm going to buy a coat, or I need some pants, I'm going to go buy pants.
Do you have an idea in your head, thinking of things like makeup and clothing and accessories versus, say, facial feminization surgery? Is there a ratio in your head of how much they help you feel more like yourself and how much you shouldn't spend now in anticipation of spending more on surgery later?
Facial feminization surgery, FFS. I'm really looking forward to it just since at that point I should be able to pass, at least visually, almost all the time. So that's going to be awesome.
Right.
But the way I think of it, though, is that saving money is like a diet, which is to say, you don't want to go cold turkey and not give yourself any treats or anything, because then you can't stick with it. So it's sort of in moderation that you want to have a generally healthy lifestyle, but if you have a slice of cake every now and then, that's okay, or what have you. And so that's kind of how I approach the saving. That, yeah, I could probably get the money for FFS sooner if I just really didn't spend any money, but then I would just go crazy.
Well, I have a few minutes left if you'd like to take a moment to teach me something ladylike.
Yeah, you bet.
Good.
Okay, so I've got 2 jobbies, and one of which is sort of a general tip, and one of which is sort of product with a tip. The general tip, and I've actually, over the last few weeks, I've had some makeup lessons.
Okay.
One of the things that I learned, though, is that when you're applying your makeup, you've got sort of a, I don't know, maybe, well, it depends on how much you go for, but you got maybe a dozen different products as far as foundation, primer, moisturizer, eyeshadow, eyeliner, blush, bronzer, and so on.
It's a lot.
It can be, but yeah. Anyway, so I got these various items, and to some extent, you could theoretically put them on in different sequences. Other than, of course, some things need to go underneath other things. So one of the things that I learned is that if you do your eye makeup first and then you do your foundation, one advantage to that approach is that as you're applying, for example, your eyeshadow or your mascara, if some of that flakes off onto your cheek, what you can then do is just take a makeup remover wipe or the like and just wipe that bit off. And it's okay because you haven't done your foundation yet anyway, or your bronzer or blush. So you're not wiping anything away by doing that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then the other bit was these little spongy jobbies.
Oh, I've seen those before.
Yeah.
And this is, for people who aren't watching, this is sort of a wedge. It looks like a wedge of cheese.
So, right. So this is a little wedge sponge jobby, and this one's brand new. Just a clean one. But so what one of the makeup artists told me as sort of a tip is that after you've applied your foundation with your foundation brush and got that spread around and so on, you can use one of these sponges to smooth it, just going downward, just beep, 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 beep. And what that will do is that if there's any excess foundation, that will just pick that up onto the sponge, and it will offer a much smoother overall finish of your foundation.
This is something you just recently learned?
Yeah, this was a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago.
Before that, did you feel like your foundation was kind of splotchy sometimes?
It may not have been, I don't think it was splotchy before, but just that it offers an even better, more consistent finish to it. So I can tell that it looks nicer, and in person it may be something that may not be perceptibly different, but the kind of thing where it just overall looks more put together.
Okay.
And
nice.
Yeah, and these so this is sort of what the package looks like. And this is a package of 32 that I got at Target, and I think it was $1.99 or $2.99. But so they're crazy cheap. I mean, you would, if you're using them for foundation, you'd go through, I guess, one a day or what have you. But even at that rate, you get a month out of this whole bag, and it's not too bad at all. But the one thing I should point out is that what some people perhaps do, or may be tempted to do, would be to apply foundation to the sponge and then use that to apply to one's face. And that can create a nice effect as far as the way that the foundation looks in your face, and that it's sort of the same end result as using the sponge to wipe afterward. But the problem is that this is a sponge. It will absorb all the foundation. Well, not all of it. I mean, there'll be enough that you can still apply to your face, but more...
It's wasteful.
Right, it's wasteful. That more than what you would need would end up in the sponge rather than on your face. So what I've heard is generally a bit better is just to apply with the foundation brush and then use the sponge for smoothing, just kind of going vertically down the face. Beep, 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 beep. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, thanks for your smarts.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Jay. Yeah.
And thanks for helping me make this show, which seems to be very popular.
Well, hooray. I am happy about that.
for those of you watching or listening, please make a note on iTunes that you like the show. We would seriously appreciate it. Use whatever rating you think is fair, but yeah, spread the love, everybody.
Yeah, just search for Misgender, and you can find either the audio or video version.
Thank you, Ashley.
Oh, it's my pleasure,
good to see
Jay.
you.
It's very good to see you, and we should do this again sometime.
I bet we will. There's a lot more to cover.
I like that. That sounds good.
Good night.
Bye!